Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Line to Say with Nani and I'm girl Nani. Guys, I hope you are all safe. I hope you are fine. If you're new to this channel, you're welcome. Thank you for joining us today, and I hope you get glued to this channel. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back to this channel. I appreciate it so much. Today I bring us another tutorial on how to make an off-shoulder IGBO blouse, and these are the measurements I'll be working with. So I'll just be calling them out as I go ahead in the video. Now for the off shoulder, we always do a -4. So from my starting point, I mark the starting point. I'm placing my tip at 4 inches. Then I would mark my chest line, my bust point, my underbust, the half length and the length of this blouse. So those are the lines you're seeing there on the fabric. Okay, so make sure you take these measurements accurately. All right, the chest line, which is derived by dividing your bust measurement by 6 plus 1.5, the bust point, the underbust, the half length and the length of this blouse. Now from the center front, I'll be marking the bust span divided by 2 plus half inch. Her bust span is 6 inches, divided by 2 is 3 plus half inch, that's 3.5. That is what I marked on the bust point, the underbust, the half length and on the length of the blouse. Okay, now but for the upper part, I'll be adding half inch extra to it to mark on the upper part. Okay, I really do not like the shape it gives if you mark the bust point on the upper line. I really don't like that shape. It gives a curvy shape that I don't like. But then I'll just connect all those lines. Okay, now the next thing to do is to mark your underbust cuff. Now the bust I'm working with is bust 31.5. okay, I'm approximating it to 2 inches, so I'll be coming in by half inch on the center front. Okay, half inch. Remember what I do, the way I mark on the bust point, take away half inch and mark it on the other bust. So I'm just marking that half inch there. Now on the side, because of the underbust curve, her bust is 31.5. I'll approximate it to 2 inches, so I'm marking 1.5 on the other side of the dark leg. Now wherever you mark on the underbust, you mark the same thing on the half length. Okay, so I'm marking half inch on the center front, then 1.5 inches on the side front. All right, so I'll just connect that to 2 inches before the blouse length. Okay, so I marked 2 inches before the blouse length, so I'll just connect the lines. Okay, then connect to the half length as well, then do my underbust shaping. Okay, so you just curve it in. Okay, so I'm using my free hand now. Okay, there are no rulers, there are no curve rulers here, so you can do this with your free hand. Okay, so I'm also covering to the center front. All right, so the next thing to do is to take the dart at the upper bust area. So I'll take half inch towards the center front, just half inch. Okay, then 1 inch towards the side front. Okay, so half inch and 1 inch. So I'll connect it to the bust point. Okay, to give us that shape. You can see how beautiful that is. Okay, then you make sure that everything is properly aligned, your lines are properly curved out. Okay, then I also curve the half inch to the bust point, the half inch on the center front to the bust point, to give us the shape that the center front of our bustier usually have. Okay, so now for IGBO blouses, okay, you can do this with your lace fabrics, with any type of fabric you want, with your lace. Different types of fabrics are in vogue now for making an IGBO blouse. All right, so the next thing I'm going to be doing is to take the neck width, and it's derived by dividing your shoulder measurement by 2 minus 1.5. So the shoulder is 15 divided by 2 is 7.5 minus 1.5 gives us 6 inches. Okay, so what I'll be doing is to mark 6 inches on the upper bust. Now the upper bust area is what you have after subtracting your -4. After doing your -4 for the off shoulder, so you can do -4, 5, 6 depending on how low or deep your clients want it. So what I'll be doing is to mark the 6 inches plus the dart allowance. The dart I'll be taking out, okay, because we'll be cutting this dart, so we'd have to replace it. So I marked that there, the 6 inches plus the dart intake. Okay, then on the bust point and on the chest line, I'll mark the bust measurement divided by 4. Okay, so that's the bust measurement divided by 4. Then I also measure the dart around that point. You can see that, and I have 1 inch for the dart, so I'll replace it because we are going to be cutting that out, so we don't want to have a shortage. Then I'll place my 3 inches seam allowance, 2 inches for the side seam allowance, and the other 1 inch to join the dart. Now at this upper part, I also mark 1 inch to join the dart. Okay, we didn't do that initially, so I'll mark 1 inch there, so that by the time we cut out the dart, we can join the 2 sides together. Now on the underboss length, I'll take the underboss circumference. Okay, so it's underboss circumference divided by 4. I'll mark that there. Then measure the dart I have there. I have 2 inches for the dart there, so I'll mark that 2 inches. I'll replace it. Then my 3 inches seam allowance. Right, then on the half length, I'll measure quarter of the waist measurement. That's the waist divided by 4, so I'll mark that the waist divided by 4. I'll measure the dart I have there and I'll replace it, plus my 3 inches seam allowance. Okay, so I'll just connect all the points. So from the upper bust, I'll just make a slanted line towards the chest line, then connect my points, then extend it to the length of the folded fabric for the hip, for the length of the blouse. So what I'll be doing is to cut this out. So if you're still watching till this point, thank you so much. Please don't forget to subscribe. Please turn on the notification bell so you get notified each time I upload a new video. Like and share this video with your friends, and I love you. Thank you for all the love you show me on this channel. I really appreciate it. Okay, so having cut the dart out, I also cut the dart on the center front. Okay, gently, and that is it. Okay, so the dart on the center front is out. Also trim out the starting point line I made there, okay, because I didn't want the writings on the fabric to be showing, so I also cut through to the side. All right, then slant it to the armhole, and that is it for the front part of this our IGBO blouse. It's also a Bustier blouse. Okay, so like I was saying, you can make this IGBO blouse with lace, Ankara, George, you know, there are different materials now to make your shoulder IGBO blouse. In my next video after this one, I think so, I'll be showing a video on how to make an IGBO blouse with full shoulder. So this one is without shoulder. Now for the padding, okay, there are different types of padding. I have the light weight and the heavy weight wadding, and then also the foamy breast pad. Okay, so the wadding has an adhesive, it's fusible. You can use your iron to, you know, adhere it to your fabric. Okay, so I'll be using this thicker wadding to pad the bust area. So what I'll be doing is to fold the wadding in two. This is called wadding in the Nigerian market. I don't know what it's called outside Nigeria, but it's called wadding in the Nigerian market, and this one is sold for about 1,000 naira per yard. Okay, so 1 yard should be enough for you to make as much as many blouses as you can make. All right, so I folded by 4 inches. You can do 5 inches. All right, so what I'll do is to place this side piece on it, then I'll trace the marking. So I'll just get a colored chalk so that I can make this visible. So what I'll do is to trace that bust shape. Okay, so you trace it out, then you can take it out. Okay, now so if you're measuring 4 inches or whatever you want to make, so if you have 4 inches, just mark to the end of the 4 inches, then connect to that point. All right, curve it in form of a D. Okay, like A, B, C, D, like that. So like the shape of a D, to get a cup around that part. Okay, so you can fold 4 inches, 5 inches, depending on how big the client is. Just make sure that whatever you're folding doesn't get to the seam allowance, so you don't have a bulky seam. So I'll just cut that out, then cut through to the other side. Right, so after this I'll take it out, and I like to notch the part that goes through the bust. Okay, I like to notch it so that I know how to place it. Then on the lower part, I also like to notch it, so you know that this part is the down part and this one is the side. Okay, so you don't mess or confuse it or mess it up. Yeah, so I also fold the wording to cut for the center front. So I just place it. Note that the padding is ending at the underboss. Okay, the same thing I did to the side front. Make sure that your padding ends at the underboss. Okay, you don't want to have your padding extending to the length of the blouse. Okay, it's no longer in vogue. So you can see I ended just right there at my underbust. So I'll cut that out. Alright, so we take that out, and this is our breast pad to pad the bust area of our IGBO blouse. Okay, so you just place it on it, use your iron to fuse it to your fabric. Okay, now so when you're done, you also place it on the other side. You can see, so if I place it here, you can see how I've padded my the bust area, and the breast pad is not getting to where I have my seam allowance. You could see that. So I also placed this, so the notches I made will just help me to know where to place the pad. So as you can see, I'll take this aside. Now for the neck depth, okay, so you can decide to leave it straight depending on what you want. You can make a V-shaped neckline, you can make whatever type of neckline you want, a sweetheart neckline. So now what you do is to get your center. There are two ways. Okay, you can just get your center front, okay, then come down by the length you want. Okay, you could do 2 inches more for the depth of the neckline. Okay, so you can get your tape, mark whatever you want, maybe 2 inches, 3 inches, depending on how deep you want it to be, or even 1.5. okay, then you now curve it in form of a sweetheart, okay, or even a U-shaped neckline like so, or a V-shaped neckline, depending on what you desire. Okay, then another method is to do that after joining your sides, the darts together. After joining that, you can now decide to cut through your neckline. That is optional. Whichever method you choose will still come out very beautiful. Alright, so for the back part, I've also folded my fabric into 2. Okay, I folded into 2. So I'll start by marking my zip allowance of 1.5 inches. So I'll mark it all the way down. Okay. So what I also do is to mark out all my measurements. So I'll just mark the chest line. Remember, -4. So from the edge of the fabric, I'll place my tape at 4. Now -4 is not constant. You could do a -5, 6, 7 inches depending on how low you want this to be. So whatever you're doing for the front is the same you do for the back. So for the back, I don't need the bust part on the underbust, so I marked my chest line and the half length, then the length of my skirt plus my 1 inch hemming allowance. All right, so on the chest line, I'll just mark my bust pan the same thing we did for the front. My bust pan plus half inch. I also mark the same thing at the upper bust area, then the same thing on the half length, the blouse length, and down on the seam allowance. Okay, so I connect that in a straight line. Okay, so I'm just making out my horizontal measurements visible. So we'll do our normal half inch on both sides of the half length, okay, for our dart, then connect it to the length of the blouse, then take it to the chest line. Okay, so connect it to the chest line like so. So this is a normal dart, but I'll be cutting out this dart because I like the look that it gives. All right, so now I'll start marking my horizontal measurements. So I'll mark the half of the shoulder minus 1.5 like we did for the front. I'll be marking it there. Now by the time I cut this fabric, I'll be needing my allowance, so I'll add that later. Now on the chest line, I'm marking quarter of the bust measurement plus 3 inches. Okay, 2 inches side seam allowance and 1 inch for joining the dart. On the half length, I also mark quarter of the waist measurement plus my dart intake. Okay, so whatever I have as my dart, I'll be replacing that plus my 3 inches seam allowance. Okay, so I'll be connecting that. So you can also do whatever type of neckline you want at the back, but I'm leaving this straight. Okay, by the time I'm sewing, I'll decide if I want to have it straight or slanted or even a sweetheart for the front. You don't do sweetheart neckline for the back. Okay, so when I get the front and place it on this, you can see that it's properly aligned, and that is what we aim to achieve. Okay, so you cut that out. Remember, on the shoulder point, I marked the shoulder half of the shoulder minus 1.5 plus my 1 inch allowance to join the dart when I cut it out. Okay, so I'm also cutting through the dart like so. Now the same thing, so I'll just go and cut the same thing for my lining piece, both for the front and the back. Then we'll wait on the sewing machine to join these things together. Then you make sure you notch your zip allowance for the top and the bottom. Okay, you notch the zip allowance. Then I also like to notch the upper part, okay, so that I don't mistake. Sometimes you can just flip this around and you won't know which one goes to the upper part and the lower part. So I like to notch the upper part so that when I'm joining, I would know that this goes to the up and this is to the down part. Then I'll open up my zip allowance. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing for our lining and meet on the sewing machine to join these beautiful pieces together. Alright, so I'm also notching the upper part, okay, because I also like to notch it so that you don't mistake it. The same thing I did for this for the back. Okay, so we just go cut our lining and start joining.